Hi guys, I hope you're well. So in today's video, I'm going to do the ultimate coffee shop showdown and compare the UK's most popular coffee chains, which are Starbucks, Costa and Cafe Nero. Yes, all of them do have their incredible specials that they do, but I just want to know which place actually just nails their basic sort of ham and cheese toasties and a bake. Obviously, I would also compare sort of their coffees and drinks as well, but one, I'm going to do this in one day. I won't be able to drink all of those coffees to myself, and two, I feel like everybody's already got their opinions of the coffees from these places. Maybe I could do a future video for this, but because I'm a foodie, I'm just going to be comparing their food and overall vibe. I'm going to let you know which one is going to win the coffee shop showdown with the top 3 coffee chains in the UK. So just for context, I visited all of these coffee shops on a Sunday lunchtime in the city centre, so it was definitely a busy time to go, but also a good test. First up, I went to Cafe Nero, which had nice relaxed vibes with chilled music on, and despite being busy, it was actually still fairly quiet in terms of the noise levels in there, with a mix of age groups, and the decor is its classic darker colours, which I like because it gives it a nice cosy feel to it. I thought they had a good selection of food with some staple items, but also differences to Costa and Starbucks, with things like fresh soups, hot pasties, side salads, and some more fresh cakes like cheesecakes and meringues rather than just muffins, cakes and tray bakes, and it all looked super yum. And the customer service was so good too. Before we get into rating some of their food items, I thought I'd rate the vibe of the coffee shop itself, and I really got a nice warm vibe from here, so I'm going to rate it a 9 out of 10. So I got the ham and cheese toastie from each place. So they all come in bags like this, apart from Costa. This has gone really soggy though, but that's not really a fair judgment because it has been in here for about 15-20 minutes. Still warm though, so let's see what it's like. This is what it's looking like. It's a bit soggy now, and it's not really toasted underneath, which I would like it to, because for me a toastie needs to be quite crispy, and even though it's been left for a while, like, it should have been a bit more crispy, but hey ho. So the cheese is on the outside, and then you've got the ham in the middle, so that's interesting. It does taste good, obviously, like, no extravagant flavours. It's got a bit of pepper in there, but definitely sort of, you know, I'd be happy with that for a ham and cheese toastie. I'm not really happy with the fact that it's not really toasted underneath though. This was £4.50, so I think that's on the pricier side, but I think everything's pretty pricey these days. So my categories for food are taste, texture and overall appearance. So for taste, for the ham and cheese toastie from Costa, I would give it a 8 out of 10. Texture, I'd only give it a 6 out of 10, and even if I'd eaten it as soon as I got it, it wouldn't have been very crispy. For overall appearance, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 for what it is. Next up, I went to Starbucks, which had a much more modern and minimalistic vibe. It was full of young people and was playing chart music. They had a selection of bakes. I'd say that they had mostly just oven bakes rather than things like cheesecakes that Cafe Nero had. Starbucks are obviously a huge coffee brand, so a lot of the shop was filled with merch and additional things that you can take away to really feel like you've got Starbucks with you in your everyday life. And on this particular day, I actually felt that it was a little bit less personal with the customer service. It felt a little bit like who's next kind of thing, but I guess that was because it was so busy. And I think that the decor is very minimal, but it's also modern and fresh. I just don't think it's as cozy as Cafe Nero in my opinion. So to rate Starbucks for the vibe, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Now let's see what their toastie is like. So next up, we got the exact same thing from Starbucks. This ham and cheese toastie from Starbucks was £4.65, so 25p more expensive than Cafe Nero. Let's see if it's worth it. It feels less soggy from the outside. Interesting how they've not cut it up. So I didn't realise at the time of recording this that this cheese and ham toastie does also have mustard in it, so that's what makes it really bright yellow. But the difference with this is it's got cheese on the outside and also cheese in the middle, so it's making it extra cheesy, which is always a good thing. And it's a little bit more toasted on the bottom as well as really crispy on the top, which I like. So let's see what I thought.
That is completely different. The cheese, or the sort of crispy cheese on the top, definitely makes it's a stronger flavour. For me, that's more enjoyable. I think the ham as well is maybe a little bit smoked. I think it is smoked ham actually. All those little elements just make it a little bit more exciting. So for taste, for this, I would give it a 9 out of 10. For texture, I would give it an 8.5, just because, again, it could have been done a little bit more on the bottom. That's preference, but they only have it as standard setting. So appearance, it could have been placed better, but that's not really their fault. The brightness of the cheese makes it a little bit more exciting as well. So, and this. So for what it is, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 for appearance. It's really yummy, actually.
My final stop was Costa, which I would say had a similar vibe to Cafe Nero in terms of age groups, being very mixed in there, and it also had peaceful music. They had a huge food selection, especially with their collaboration with M&S, giving it such a good variety to choose from. Similar to Starbucks, they had the oven bakes, but not really as many fresh cakes like Nero. This Costa was really big and had lots of different kinds of spaces to sit, which was good. I do like the decor and colours of Costa. I think that the red is really appealing when it comes to food, and it makes everything feel really warming and relaxing. They had more on their walls than Starbucks, making it more inviting, and I also loved this particular Costa had this big logo in bright lights, which made it very visually appealing. Customer service on this day was very good too, so for an overall vibe rating, I'm going to give Costa an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, last but not least, from the most popular coffee shop in the UK is Costa. Now, the first difference is what they serve it in. I do like this. Obviously both are recyclable. You could probably catch your crumbs a little bit more. It's just a little bit more exciting, and also protects the toastie, because the other two obviously went a bit soggy, soaked into the paper a little bit more, and when you're carrying it out and about, this would stay a bit more protected. So let's see what the toastie is like. So instantly I can see that it's a bit more greasy on the top. Like, I've literally got grease all over my fingers. Similar vibes to both of them though, with the cheese on the top, and then this one also has cheese in the inside as well. So Cafe Nero didn't have that, unless they only had a tiny bit that I didn't notice. So this is good in the sense that it's got crispy cheese on the top, melted cheese in the middle, and the ham. It's not really toasted on the bottom, maybe very slightly, maybe slightly more than Cafe Nero, but not as much as Costa. So for me, that's a little downfall. It was £4.50, so again, the exact same as Cafe Nero. So far we've got Starbucks, which is the most expensive, but I enjoyed it the most. But they've cut this in half, so let's give it a whirl. Okay, because the top is really crispy, I think that takes away from the bottom not being so crispy. I like the taste of the cheese being overdone, and when you bite into the middle, it's got like creamy sort of cheese in the inside as well. Taste, I would give it a 8 out of 10. Texture, I would give it a 7.5, just because I do like the top, but I'm not sure on the grease. Overall appearance though is a 9 out of 10. I do like the look of it, and I like the way that they've cut into it, and also the way it's packaged up. So not bad. Okay, now we're going to go on to the sweets. So I was trying to think of something that like is quite popular, that every place does, and I was kind of tying between a brownie or a cinnamon swirl. The first place I went into was Cafe Nero, and their cinnamon swirl looked unreal compared to their brownie, so I thought, okay, let's go with that. And to be fair, and I filmed the brownies in each place, they all look pretty similar, and they all looked fairly dry. I think Costa looked the best because it had like a little bit of filling inside, so I thought, okay, let's do something a little bit different and do their cinnamon swirl / cinnamon roll. For Cafe Nero, it comes in a bag just like the Toastie did, and it is £2.10, so not bad at all. Just wait and see what it looks like, because it looks amazing. Obviously it's your classic cinnamon swirl with the way that it's set out. It looks delicious. It looks like it's got icing sugar on the top. It's well baked, it's crispy, it's soft on the middle. Let's give it a whirl. This is looking pretty much insane, and my ideal cinnamon swirl or bun. Oh wow. That is so good. It's so soft but also crispy on the top, bursting with flavour, so sweet, cinnamony, not too overpowering. Tastes like Christmas. I remember trying one from Pret, which blew my mind, and I would have featured that in this video, but they weren't in the top 3 or even top 4. After this, I think it was like McDonald's or Greg's, which blew my mind, and that's not really a coffee shop. So yeah, this is really ideal. So for taste, I would give it a 10 out of 10. Texture, again, 10 out of 10. It's perfectly done. And overall appearance, a 10 out of 10. So well done, Cafe Nero, because that is really good. It's definitely put them up a notch from their toastie, because their toastie, after comparing it to the other two, was definitely not up there. Next up is Starbucks. As you can see, it's a lot fatter, and that's because they don't do a cinnamon swirl, they do a cinnamon bun. So obviously it can't fully compare, but that's what they've chosen to do for their cinnamon dessert, and that was £2.60, a bit more expensive than Cafe Nero, but it is bigger, and as we've noticed, Starbucks seems to be a little bit more expensive on the whole. But let's give it a whirl, or a cinnamon swirl. This is what it's looking like. As you can see, it's like a cinnamon bun. This might be icing sugar, but obviously the other one was just sprinklings of it. This has made it actual like sort of icing and frosting. It seems very sort of moist on the top, and it's very thick. Okay, so I've just broken it, and first impressions is it seems very sort of bready, quite dry. Let's just bite into the whole thing, get as much in as we can. It's got sultanas in it as well, so that's interesting. So let's try. That is completely different. It's very zesty. I don't know if that's because of the icing sugar. A little bit. The pastry, the bread is a little bit more dry. Obviously this is so much more dense, like it would really fill you up if you had that on its own, whereas the other one, for me, I prefer because it's a bit lighter, but it still satisfies all of your sweet cravings. It's got the sultanas in it as well, which do give it texture. It must have some sort of paste on it or something that's like making it kind of fruity and zesty, and also the cinnamon flavour isn't as prominent as the other one. I think it's sort of drowned out by all the other things that are going on in it. I do like it, but I definitely wouldn't go for it compared to the Cafe Nero one. So for taste, I would give it a 7 out of 10, just because it's not very cinnamony. I think it's a bit more zesty. Texture, I would give it, obviously it is a bun, but I would only give it a 7.5. I just think it's a little bit dry. And for overall appearance, I think it looks pretty good for a bun, so I would give that a 9 out of 10. Last but not least, also got this cinnamon brioche bun from Costa. This is £2.10. Interesting. I sort of forgot what it looked like when I was asking for it. Again, this seems to have gone for sort of the fruity, zesty vibes, because it's got like fruit on the top. I don't know if it's orange or some other kind of fruit. It does look good with the swirl. It feels sort of moist, not as sort of oily. It's got little hints of icing sugar on the top, but nothing compared to the Starbucks one that had loads. So I guess it really does depend on your preference. Like, they are all completely different. Okay, so as you've just seen from me breaking into that, I seem very disappointed with the amount of cinnamon that's in this. Like, it's hardly in there, and I broke into the middle as well, and there's literally nothing. Yeah, it's definitely not in there. Like, the whole way through, each swirl is just like that. So let's see what it tastes like. Okay, that took a while to swallow because that was quite dry. I thought the same for Starbucks, but at least the Starbucks had all the icing sugar on the top, so it made it, all the frosting, which made it a bit more like moist, and there's hardly any cinnamon flavour to it. This hasn't got sultanas in it, so, and obviously hardly any sort of frosting on the top. It's not that sweet, I'm kind of disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted more cinnamon, I'm wanting more like gooiness in the middle. Maybe that's just my preference, but so far nothing has beaten Cafe Nero's cinnamon swirl, and I know that they're slightly different. I don't know, if you're gonna go for a cinnamon bun, I feel like it needs a lot more sort of elements in it, because you can definitely fit it in. So for taste for this, I would give it a 6. I think it's really bland, not gonna lie. No, for texture, I would give it a 7.5. It's just a bit dry. Appearance, I would give it a 8.5. You know, I like the little added elements of it. I think the swirl's good. I like the shininess on the top. It's not anything major, it's not blowing me away. So in summary, after visiting the top 3 most popular coffee chains in the UK, I'm gonna say that on this day, surprisingly, Cafe Nero was my favourite. It's not one that I would go to the most to get coffees, as usually the other 2 you can find in more places, but just for the warm Italian vibes of this restaurant and the extra fresh food they had on offer, including the fresh cakes and pasties, and also their unreal cinnamon bun, they topped it for me on this occasion. Obviously the other 2 are great, and if you check out my video where I tried their Christmas specials, you'll see I was actually blown away by some of their items, so it really does depend on what you're going for. The Toastie wasn't the best from Cafe Nero, but overall my gut is saying that it was my favourite, so there you go. I hope that you found this video interesting and enjoyed it, and do let me know if you want me to compare any other places or items. And if you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate it so much, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on any future videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.